Stop, kid! The blue paper airplane was lying in the middle of the street, directly in front of a speeding car. Ethan stepped off the sidewalk to pick it up, completely unaware of the headlights sweeping across the pavement. Hannah dropped her interview folder, rushed into the road, wrapped her arms around the boy, and pulled him back to the curb only seconds before the car raced past behind them. A car horn tore through the crowded intersection. Hannah's documents fell into a puddle, smearing the reports she had spent weeks preparing. The clock on her phone showed that she had only 12 minutes left before her interview at Cole Industries. That morning, Hannah had woken up early in the small apartment she shared with her mother. She separated Ruth's medicine into the correct doses, prepared lunch, and placed a note beside the bed listing the time for each medication. "You need to leave now, or you will miss the train," Ruth reminded her. Hannah noticed that her mother was pressing one hand against her chest. "Are you feeling sick again?" "I am only a little short of breath." Ruth slipped her hand beneath the blanket and smiled. "You left your job 6 months ago to take care of me. Today, you need to think about your own future." The operations analyst position at Cole Industries could provide the steady salary and health insurance Ruth desperately needed. Before leaving home, Hannah opened the email from Olivia Grant one more time. It stated that Hannah had earned the highest score among all the candidates on the professional assessment. On the train, Hannah gave her seat to a pregnant woman. When a passenger rushing through the doors dropped a bank card, Hannah ran after him to return it, even though doing so nearly caused her to miss her stop. Now, at the intersection near the Cole Industries headquarters, Hannah knelt in front of the boy she had just rescued. "Are you hurt anywhere?" Ethan shook his head. He did not cry. He only held tightly to the blue paper airplane, which was now wet along one corner. "I have to find my dad before 4:30. Hannah looked at the words written in pencil across one wing. Dad and Ethan, 4:30. He promised. On the other side was a small Cole Industries logo. "Where does your father work?" Ethan pointed toward the glass tower across the street. "On the highest floor." Hannah noticed an emergency contact bracelet around his wrist. He remembered his name, but he could not remember his father's phone number. She immediately called the police, the number printed on the bracelet, and then Cole Industries. "My name is Hannah Brooks. I am scheduled for a 9 o'clock interview. I found a lost child near your headquarters who nearly walked in front of a car. I am waiting for someone to be officially verified before I leave him, so I will be late." The operator recorded the information and asked her to remain on the line while the call was transferred. Hannah took a screenshot of the call history so she would have proof. A man wearing a Cole Industries employee badge came running toward them. "I work in that building. Give the boy to me. You should go to your interview." "Do you have identification, or do you know the security code on his bracelet?" The man frowned. "You are going to be late." Hannah looked at the time. Every passing minute felt like another door closing on her future. But when the man reached for Ethan, the boy moved closer to her. "I will not hand a child over to someone who has not been verified." The man walked away in frustration. Hannah waited until the police called back and confirmed that Cole Industries had sent an authorized employee to meet them in the main lobby. Before taking Ethan across the street, she carefully unfolded the paper airplane and wrote her phone number inside. "If we get separated, give this number to a police officer." By the time Hannah reached the interview desk, the digital clock read 9:18. Vanessa Reed sat behind the desk in a perfectly pressed gray suit, with Hannah's application already open in front of her. Vanessa looked at the clock, then closed the folder. "You are 18 minutes late." I called ahead. A lost child stepped into traffic and nearly got hit by a car. I have the call history right here. Every applicant has an excuse. Vanessa did not even look at the phone Hannah held out. Coal Industries needs people who respect other people's time. Hannah placed her soaked documents on the desk. I understand how important this interview is, but I could not leave a child alone in the street. Vanessa opened the resume and stopped at the 6-month gap in Hannah's employment history. You left your previous job to care for your sick mother? Yes. Her condition is stable now, and I've arranged a reliable care schedule. How can someone dealing with medication, hospital visits, and emergency calls fully commit to a demanding position? Vanessa closed the folder again. The gap in your employment history was already a concern. Arriving late today gave me the answer I needed. Hannah felt every word pressing against the fear she had carried for years, that caring for her mother would cause every opportunity to disappear. Even so, she kept her voice calm. You can evaluate me based on my experience and professional assessment. Olivia Grant informed me that I received the highest score in the candidate group. The final decision belongs to the Human Resources Department. Vanessa entered 2 statements into the system. Absent without notice. Do not rehire for 2 years. I called before the interview, Hannah reminded her. This conversation is over. Ethan was standing nearby with the receptionist, still holding the blue paper airplane. Hannah did not know who he was, and she never mentioned saving him as a way to demand special treatment. She only turned toward him and said, "You are safe here now. Do not go into the street by yourself again." Vanessa briefly noticed the Coal Industries logo on the paper airplane. Her expression changed immediately. A security officer approached and stared in shock when he recognized Ethan. "Young Mr. Cole, we have been—" "Take him to the security office," Vanessa interrupted. "Right now." She motioned toward the receptionist. "Escort Miss Brooks out of the building." Hannah walked through the glass doors with the soaked interview folder held against her chest. The doors had barely closed when Daniel Cole ran into the lobby, dropped to his knees, and pulled Ethan into his arms. "Where have you been? Who brought you back here?" Ethan pointed through the glass doors where Hannah was disappearing into the crowd. "That woman." Vanessa stepped forward. "Our security department handled everything, sir." Ethan looked directly at her. "That is not true." Daniel held his son's paper airplane and stared toward the doors where Hannah had just disappeared. He did not yet know who the woman was, but Vanessa did, and she was determined to make sure that Daniel never found her. Ethan looked directly at Vanessa, still holding the blue paper airplane against his chest. Daniel loosened his arms just enough to check his son's face and arms for injuries. "Who let you out of the child care center?" "No one." Ethan lowered his head. "I heard your assistant say you were going to miss the science fair again. I wanted to find you before 4:30. Daniel looked at the words written across the wing of the paper airplane. Dad and Ethan, 4:30. He promised. He remembered making that promise. He also remembered telling his assistant that morning to prepare another apology on his behalf. "You walked into the street by yourself just to find me? Because if I did not come here, you would forget again." The boy's answer left Daniel speechless. After his wife died, he had buried himself in work to escape the pain. Then he used gifts and assistance to make up for every moment he missed. But Ethan did not need another toy. He only wanted his father to keep one promise. Vanessa stepped in. The security department found him near the building. Fortunately, the situation was handled quickly. "They did not find me," Ethan protested. Miss Hannah pulled me away from the car. All of her papers fell into the water. Vanessa kept her voice calm. That woman was an applicant who arrived late. Once she realized who Ethan was, she tried to use the situation to gain access to you. Daniel stood up. What is her full name? Bring me her application. Hannah Brooks. Her application was rejected because she lacked discipline and failed to meet our standards for commitment. She just saved my son's life. That does not change the fact that she was late. A medical staff member stepped out of the room beside the child care center. Margaret had just recovered from a drop in blood pressure after learning that Ethan was missing. She approached them, her face still pale. Daniel, I warned you 3 times about the unsecured door and the staffing shortage. How was Ethan still able to leave the building? Vanessa answered before Daniel could speak. All of Mrs. Cole's concerns were addressed. This was an isolated incident. Margaret looked at her. If they had been addressed, my grandson would not have ended up in the middle of traffic. At the same time, Hannah returned to her apartment with the soaked interview folder pressed against her chest. She hid the notice banning her from applying again and told Ruth that the interview had only been postponed. But her mother saw the trembling in Hannah's hands and knew she was lying. They rejected you, did they not? Hannah sat down beside the table. I was late. Maybe Vanessa was right. Maybe my life has too many complications for a company to trust me. Ruth took her hand. You saved a child. Do not turn someone else's injustice into proof that your kindness was a mistake. She looked at the wet folder. Save the call history, the emails, and everything connected to what happened. You have stayed silent too many times already. At Cole Industries, Olivia Grant searched for Hannah's application after noticing that her name was missing from the interview list. Hannah still had the highest assessment score, well above the next candidate. But Vanessa had marked her record with the words, "Do not rehire for 2 years." Olivia saved a copy before calling Hannah. This is Olivia Grant, head of the Operations Analysis Team. Did you come to the headquarters this morning? I arrived 18 minutes late because I was helping a lost child. I called before the interview to let the company know. Your record says you were absent without notice. Olivia paused. You should also know that you received the highest score on the professional assessment. I never requested that you be rejected. The hope that briefly appeared inside Hannah was quickly replaced by doubt. If Olivia had not rejected her, then who had decided that one late arrival deserved a 2-year ban? Daniel demanded to see the child care center's security footage. The system showed a gap lasting almost 40 minutes, labeled maintenance. The security report, however, claimed that every required position had been fully staffed. The camera failed at the exact moment Ethan left? Daniel asked. According to the technical report, yes, Vanessa replied. Ethan sat in the corner of the room and carefully unfolded the crumpled paper airplane. Inside, he found the phone number Hannah had written. He immediately handed it to his father. Daniel called it once. Hannah Brooks? Yes. My name is Daniel Cole. Ethan is my son. Hannah tightened her grip on the phone. She remembered the company logo, Ethan saying that his father worked on the highest floor, and Vanessa's sudden change in expression. I want to thank you, Daniel said. If you need a position at Cole Industries, I can arrange one immediately. Sir, I did not save Ethan in exchange for a job. You lost your interview because of my son. Then please allow me to attend the interview I already qualified for. I want to be judged by my ability, not by your gratitude. Daniel fell silent at her answer. Hannah explained that she had called to report that she would be late. The company's phone department checked its records and found her call. It had been logged 11 minutes before the scheduled interview. Vanessa's report was false. That evening, Marcus Hale, a security supervisor, secretly contacted Hannah. "You do not know me, but I saw the staffing transfer order this morning. 3 security positions were removed from the childcare area." "Then why did the report say the area was fully staffed?" "Vanessa forced me to sign the confirmation. I have the original schedule, but if I make it public, I could lose my job and my daughter's health insurance." Hannah did not ask him to hand over the documents. "Keep the evidence somewhere safe. Only testify when there is a system in place to protect you." Meanwhile, Daniel ordered the technical department to restore the security footage that had been relabeled. The recovered video showed Vanessa looking at the paper airplane, recognizing Ethan, and still ordering Hannah to be removed from the building. The next morning, Marcus met Hannah and placed the original staffing schedule and an email from Vanessa in front of her. "Move every visible security employee to the investor lobby. Do not allow the staffing shortage to appear in the report." The email had been sent on the same day Ethan disappeared. Hannah looked at the 3 security positions crossed off the original schedule and realized that she had lost more than an interview. Someone had placed children in danger for the sake of a clean report, and the following day, that same person would stand before the entire company and announce a new program called Family First. These numbers prove that Cole Industries has always put employees' families first. Vanessa Reed stood at the center of the stage in the company's main auditorium. Behind her, the words "Family First" glowed brightly across the screen. Below, employees, investors, and members of the board watched closely. Vanessa smiled as a cost savings chart appeared, showing the numbers that were bringing her closer to becoming Chief Operating Officer. The host was about to announce the appointment when Daniel Cole stood up. "Wait." The entire auditorium fell silent. Daniel walked onto the stage, his face no longer carrying its usual calm expression. "Before we talk about putting families first, there are several people we need to hear from." The auditorium doors opened. Hannah entered with Olivia, Marcus, and Margaret. Vanessa tightened her grip around the remote control. "Mr. Cole," she said, "this woman used your son to gain access to the company. Bringing her here will only make this situation more—" "She did not know Ethan was my son," Daniel interrupted. "She only saw a child about to be hit by a car." The screen behind them switched to footage from a traffic camera. In the middle of the crowded intersection, Ethan stepped into the street to retrieve the blue paper airplane. Hannah threw her interview folder aside, rushed toward him, and pulled him to safety just before the car sped past. The sound of screeching brakes echoed through the auditorium. No one laughed. No one looked at Hannah as a failed applicant anymore. Vanessa tried to keep her voice steady. "I have never denied that she helped the boy. The issue is that she arrived late for her interview without giving notice." Olivia stepped forward and placed a call record before the board. "The company phone log shows that Hannah called before her scheduled appointment and explained that she was handling an emergency. Her record was later changed to say that she was absent without notice." Another page appeared on the screen. Hannah's name stood at the top of the professional assessment results. Olivia looked directly at Vanessa. "She received the highest score of every applicant. I was never allowed to interview her because you personally marked her record with the words, 'Do not rehire for 2 years.'" Vanessa turned toward Daniel. That may have been an administrative error. Then what about this? Daniel asked. The lobby security footage began playing. In the video, Vanessa held the blue paper airplane, noticed the Cole Industries logo, and read the message about the promise at 4:30. A security officer was about to address Ethan as young Mr. Cole when Vanessa interrupted him. She then ordered Hannah to be removed from the building. Vanessa turned pale. I was controlling a crisis. By hiding the woman who saved my son? Daniel asked. By stopping an applicant from exploiting the situation. Hannah looked at her calmly. I never asked to meet Mr. Cole. I only asked for the opportunity to attend the interview I had already earned. Whispers spread throughout the auditorium, but Marcus knew that the hardest part had not yet begun. He looked down at the plastic ring his daughter had given him, took a deep breath, and stepped forward. Ethan was able to leave the childcare center because 3 security positions had been removed. He presented the original staffing schedule. 3 names had been crossed out in red, while the official report still claimed that the area was fully staffed. Vanessa immediately objected. Mr. Hale was responsible for that schedule. If there was an error, it was not an error. Margaret stood up. I sent 3 warnings about the unsecured door and the staffing shortage. All 3 were closed with notes saying that the problems had been resolved. 3 emails with different dates appeared on the screen. Vanessa turned toward the technical staff. The automated system may have classified them incorrectly. Marcus placed the final email before the board. His voice was rough, but it no longer trembled. You ordered me to move the security officers to the investor lobby and sign a report claiming that the child care center was fully staffed. Vanessa's written instruction appeared in the middle of the screen. Move every visible security employee to the investor lobby. Do not allow the staffing shortage to appear in the report. The email had been sent on the same day Ethan disappeared. An independent auditor stepped forward with another file. The investigation had uncovered more than altered security reports. It had also found an unauthorized hiring filter. Applicants who cared for sick parents, single parents, and employees who had previously taken family leave were all labeled as people who lacked commitment. Their rejection rate was many times higher than that of other applicants. A female employee stood up. My hours were reduced after I requested time off to care for my child. A man near the back continued. My performance rating was lowered because I took my father to chemotherapy. Then more employees began standing. Each testimony created another crack in the perfect image Vanessa had just presented. The board quickly discovered that savings from staffing cuts were directly included in the performance measures used to determine her promotion. Daniel looked at the hundreds of faces before him. I signed reports that contained warnings about employee turnover and safety, he said. I did not read them carefully enough. Vanessa is responsible for what she did, but my failure to provide proper oversight allowed it to continue. Margaret looked at her son without comforting or protecting him. Daniel understood that admitting his failure was only the beginning. His absence had made Ethan believe that he needed to search for his father just to remind him of a promise. The chairman of the board gave Vanessa one final chance to explain herself. She looked around the auditorium and said, "A business cannot operate efficiently if it must constantly accommodate people who place family responsibilities above their work. They are not as dependable as employees who devote themselves completely to their careers." A cold silence filled the room for several seconds. "Mrs. Reed," the chairman said, "you are suspended effective immediately. Your access to company data has been revoked. Your appointment as Chief Operating Officer is canceled, and an independent investigation will begin today. Security officers approached. Vanessa left the stage under the eyes of the same people who had once admired her. Daniel turned toward Hannah. "You saved my son's life and helped us uncover a corrupt system. You may choose any suitable position within the corporation." Hannah remained silent for a moment, then shook her head. "If you give me a job because I saved your son, you will only replace one form of favoritism with another. I do not need a reward. I need the interview I earned." Daniel lowered his head slightly. "You are right. And my name was not the only one on that blacklist," Hannah continued. "Every applicant rejected by that filter deserves to have their application reviewed again." The board agreed. The hiring process was reorganized under independent oversight. Olivia reopened the rejected applications, while Marcus received formal protection as a witness who had provided evidence. Hannah entered her second interview without Daniel in the room. She explained how she identified weaknesses in systems, investigated unusual data patterns, and proposed protections for employees who also carried responsibilities as family caregivers. When the evaluation ended, Olivia held out her hand. "Welcome to the team." 6 months later, Coal Industries had restored benefits to the affected employees, removed retaliatory records, and introduced a new policy supporting family caregivers. Hannah joined the independent committee responsible for overseeing the program. At exactly 4:30 that afternoon, during Ethan's school science fair, the gymnasium doors opened. Daniel hurried inside, breathing heavily after running from the parking lot, but he had arrived on time. Ethan looked at his father, and a slow smile spread across his face. He ran over to Hannah and handed her the blue paper airplane. Beneath the original message, "Dad and Ethan, 4:30, he promised," Ethan had added 2 more words in careful handwriting. "He came." Hannah looked up. Daniel was kneeling beside the science project, listening as Ethan explained every detail. For the first time, Daniel's phone remained silent inside his pocket. The day Hannah missed her interview was not the day she lost her future. It was the day one act of kindness forced a father, a company, and an entire system to rediscover what truly mattered. If you had only a few minutes left before an interview that could change your entire life, would you stop to save a stranger the way Hannah did? Share your answer and continue following Stewart Stories, where we tell stories about love, hope, and justice.